Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 353 for February 12th, 2020. Yes, it's almost Valentine's Day. And if you haven't got that special present yet, you probably won't. My name is Russell Frost. I am your host for this week's adventure into advanced tech mobility and sustainable energy. With me, an amazing panel this week and really fun stuff to talk about. So let's get this show on the road. First and foremost, my co-host, wingman, and ever better lit co-host that he is, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, if you don't yet have a present for your significant other for Valentine's Day, you still have a couple of days to break up and just ease right past it. So that's always an out. I want to give a couple of shout outs. The first shout out is to Jay, who took me up on emailing me to let me know that he's been listening since day one, which I don't think is true because I don't think anyone has been listening since day one. I know I haven't.
Not me.
Yeah. Also, huge shout out. So like almost every show, I give a shout out to Philip Barclay because he helps with Flipboard and stuff. He played a very special role that only a few of us will ever be aware of. And so publicly, I want to say thanks, Philip. I thanked him privately, and I want to go public and say thanks for your help.
Wow. Okay. That sounded almost ominous at first.
Yeah, it is.
Well, since he represents more than a third, or since this country represents more than a third of our participants this evening, let's introduce the first one. We like to think of him as the president of Canada. He is a technical wizard and an otherwise kind of angry guy with me today. He's kind of venting, I think, some pent-up stuff. Mr. Jon B.
Hey, everyone. Great to be on this show. That's all I have to say. You have 2 days.
That's it.
If you need...
Fair enough.
Plan that phone call.
There we go. The other half of the Canadian contingent is our friend from the host of the Tesla Life and, of course, the man behind the Waterloo Region Electric Vehicle Association, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. And if you need a marriage counselor, just don't pick Tony.
That's probably good advice 365 days a year.
Yes. Yeah.
And last and certainly not least, our friend in the Mid-Atlantic region. He has his own Tesla supercharger and other things, Tesla lifestyle-oriented YouTube channel, Mr. Casey Green.
Hello, everybody. So I just got done with my first and second V3 supercharger experiences, and it was a blast.
Did you actually go back in time? It was so fast?
No.
I don't know. I just read Twitter, and anything's possible, right?
So I went to Lynchburg, which is one of the first East Coast version 3 superchargers, and then followed it up with Madison, Virginia. I think first is, depending on who you ask, is either Connecticut, Miami, or somewhere in New York. It's one of them. But also, if you ask, some people will say that Georgia, but I'm wondering if the one in Georgia might have been functional before it was open.
Well, I mean, who knows, right?
All I know is all these people are claiming first, and I just bowed out of
that. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
That might be best.
Well, you can find them at youtube.com/Casey Green. We'll have more on that at the end of the show. To start the show, we're going to talk about why my voice sounds a little rough today and where I've been for the last few days. There's a small automaker that had an all-wheel drive event in Park City, Utah. I just got back home from, in fact, midday today. And so I've been driving their new all-wheel drive vehicles and some of their current all-wheel drive vehicles. And it was, I learned a great deal. John, no worries. You will still continue to exhibit great technical superiority over my understanding. Even though I did spend a couple of days with the people who designed the system and did their very best to pound some sense into my head. It is complicated at best, but that small company is, of course, Toyota, and Toyota is rolling out, of course, all-wheel drive, interestingly enough, in their sedans.
Did you take these off road going in the desert with these sedans?
I was at 8,300 feet in the mountains above Salt Lake City, and Toyota had set up a special snow and ice only course for all of the vehicles, with hills and turns and tons of fun. And yes, I drove every one of them multiple times over this course, and did my very best to thrash them. For the record, because there's video, and that video will undoubtedly come out. Yes, at one time I did run the RAV4 off the course and had to go out with an enormous Caterpillar tractor.
Oh wow!
Nice.
How far off did you get it?
As it happens, I had to I happened to have one of the hosts of the event from Toyota, who was actually filming at the time when the car slid off the road because it was obviously broken. Had nothing to do with my driving.
Right. And you said so much for your all-wheel drive.
Exactly.
Dynamic torque vectoring control.
Like that's for starting, not stopping.
Yeah.
It's not the same system in all the vehicles, though, John, as you well know.
What's that?
I said it's not the same system in all the vehicles, though they don't all have dynamic torque vectoring. So
yes, but that's specific to the RAV4.
Damn it!
You did say RAV4. You took the RAV4 off the course.
I swear, I talked to the chief engineer. I said, I got this guy who's like has this encyclopedia brain. I just need something so that I can sound a little bit smarter than him just once. He just shook his head. He just said, "No, you're not going to do it."
He shook his head and he said, "You mean John?"
So we have a couple of great interviews coming up with the chief engineer of the Camry all-wheel drive system. He also is the chief engineer of Avalon, that features a new all-wheel drive system. Look for that in the next few days, as well as one of the communications experts who's going to talk about the difference between all 5 different all-wheel drive systems. And we'll have that video will have like some graphs, because it's complicated. There's 5 different all-wheel drive systems deployed in these vehicles. Maybe 4.
Okay.
Interesting.
I got a couple.
Why and how? What?
The fact that we're all
so many.
stuttering.
Why so many?
Yeah.
No,
Why so many? Why so many?
Yeah.
Why so many? So, for instance, Prius has one called all-wheel drive E.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking, John, for confirmation. Yes, there we go. I haven't screwed that up yet. So, all-wheel drive E was actually adapted from the RAV originally, wasn't it?
From where?
That was the Highlander.
Or from Highlander. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So, the way this works is it's a Prius, just like a normal Prius, front-wheel drive, the different motor generators up there. However, the rear wheels with all-wheel drive E system have a motor, an electric motor, an induction electric motor that helps drive the rear wheels in certain situations and up to a maximum speed. Okay, and I'm not going to give you the details in that because that's in the video that we're going to be posting. You have to go there to find that out.
But that's like the original Highlander was, like you were saying.
I believe that's where they adapted the system. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I don't know. Highlander.
There's some changes, but yes.
Yeah. So the reason that they use this specific system in Prius is because it's very lightweight, it's very efficient, and it doesn't hurt the driving efficiency of the vehicle otherwise. The systems in Camry and Avalon, for instance, are different. They don't use the induction motor, and they use different mechanical and electromechanical means to get power to the rear wheels. And that doesn't lend itself as well. It's not as efficient a system. So there's obviously a little toll, right? Nothing's free. There's no magic energy that suddenly powers the back wheels. And in those cars, it's not quite as critical as it is in Prius. Does that make sense?
Because they're not fuel efficiency focused and they have bigger engines.
Now,
exactly correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my understanding is that the all-wheel drive systems are only available in the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder gas Camry and Avalon.
I cannot confirm or deny that until February 18th.
That's probably a packaging situation because the Toyota V6 is quite large.
Yeah,
right.
So I have to say.
Also,
oh, I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just going to say then the reason why I ask is it may not be available in hybrid form. So since we were kind of talking about the Prius to start, but anyway, yes.
Yeah, no, and I think
continue.
John is actually, as usual, correct in that. Right, you can only get it on certain vehicles, and it only pairs up with
And
certain.
Cannot confirm or deny that yet. Yes.
Yeah, right.
And I'm unfortunately under embargo on some information until February 18th, so I can't specifically talk about some aspects of, for instance, Camry and Avalon, whereas I could talk about Prius or Highlander or whatever.
So we're up to 3?
I'm sorry?
We're up to 3 systems?
Well, there's Highlander has a different system than Camry, and one of the Highlander system has dynamic torque vectoring, or is that the one in the sedans, John?
My understanding is the RAV4 Limited and SE have dynamic torque vectoring. The LE and the XLE have a different all-wheel drive system, which may or may not be the same one as the ones in the Camry and the Avalon.
Right.
But I guess we'll find out when you
we'll find out soon. And that's why I say when I do the interview, laying out these different systems, there will be a chart on the screen that says like what vehicle trims, what vehicles, what system it is. It's super complicated. That's not a bad thing. What they've done is obviously adapt these all-wheel drive systems to each vehicle, doing what they thought, tuning it the best way they could for efficiency and for handling. And I'm sad that I'm precluded from talking about the driving experience in those cars because, believe me, on a snow and ice course, it was quite an interesting test.
So I used to drive a large all-wheel drive sedan, and it was, let's just call it luxury. It felt luxury, and I didn't take the opportunity to drive it on snow and ice, not through any of my own choices. It just happened. What does Toyota say is the reason that they did it? Because you don't typically think of the Toyota buyer as somebody who's interested in all-wheel drive large sedans.
Well, as you might imagine, Toyota being Toyota, didn't say a lot about their philosophy or their reasonings behind it.
Wow.
Even
so
though
we're allowed to speculate.
Here's the thing, do you want it?
Well, I mean, here's what it is. You guys make of it what you will. There was a lot of speculation, and I think this is the most reasonable case going forward, which is, look, Ford and GM just killed most of their sedan programs. Everyone is intensifying their efforts in the SUV and truck industry, and Toyota certainly isn't backing away from that sector, but they also don't want to lose their sedan business. It's still huge. So what can they do? Well, they can add SUV-like features to their sedans.
Functionality, but don't want the size and the fuel efficiency.
Or maybe just go, look, you can have this SUV or you can have this Camry. Which would you prefer?
Like they did before SUVs came out.
Right.
I do get it on the Prius, though, because there you can get it for almost free, the way that they have it set up.
Absolutely. And as I said, I guess it was almost 2 years ago when I did the introduction of the all-wheel drive Prius. It's amazing the difference. Now, I can probably say this. That amazing difference, when you compare it to the systems in the other vehicles, becomes much less amazing. It is clearly a system in the Prius designed for efficiency, whereas the effectiveness of the all-wheel drive system in the other vehicles is pretty staggering.
So it's not going to be like my Teslas at all.
How so?
Like with their all-wheel drive, it's going to be completely different.
No, the Prius all-wheel drive E system is basically a very light all-wheel drive system.
It only works from startup to 6 miles per hour. And then if needed, if the ECU in the car decides that it needs to engage the rear wheels, it will turn them on up to 43 miles per hour. Toyota's reasoning again for this was making it super efficient, and that most urban, complicated, potentially dangerous lack of friction incidents occur at that speed range.
So that's where it's optimal. Does it assist with regen?
I'm sorry?
Does when you go to slow down, if you have got the extra motor and the inverter capacity for it, does it help with regen?
No, it does not help with regen.
Lost opportunity there.
It is, but the problem is to do that they'd have to put a motor generator in there with permanent magnets. It's heavier and it's more of a drain on the efficiency of the Prius during regular operations.
It's more expensive as well.
Yeah.
Probably the cost, because
I have 30 words. John has
because I have induction motors on both ends, unlike the new Teslas and unlike the Prius. Both of mine are induction, and they both contribute. But I do have overhead in the inverter.
So, I mean, every once in a while I get to say something nice about Tesla. And this is one of the things that Tesla has done very, very well, which is engineer these electric motors. In many ways, they're way ahead of other companies, at least what what these other companies have deployed. So yeah, that's certainly if you can do that with that lighter system that doesn't drain the efficiency as much and still get the power you need out of it, that's amazing. And that's what Tesla's done.
Yeah. For cheap too.
So when are they expecting? When are they expecting these all-wheel drive sedans to be available?
Ooh, I don't have my notes. Camry.
Fall of 2020.
Well, Camry is now, I think, and Avalon is this fall.
When does the embargo end?
The 18th.
Next Tuesday.
Oh.
The 18th, and we will have a Camry review, hopefully in a few weeks. Hopefully I'll get to drive the Camry for a full review very soon. And even though I'm in San Diego, I will look for slippery, slidey places to go and drive. But
we're gonna get some dawn.
Yeah,
you're gonna get a lot of ice and snow there in San Diego, I'm sure.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I got frozen lakes all around me. Okay,
you've got an ice cube tray that's full.
I like the Dawn dishwashing liquid suggestion though. That's good. I mean, it's maybe a little over the top, but it's good. I like that.
If you have it for a week, just drive back to Utah. Go for
that's certainly the other thought is maybe I'll just drive somewhere cold.
To Lake Tahoe, Big Sur.
All right.
Up there.
We're gonna do that. So enough of my rambling. Two of our panelists just went to the Chicago Auto Show, that being Jon and Tony, and I want to hear what they saw at the Chicago Auto Show because I haven't been to an auto show yet this year. So.
Well,
take it away, Tony.
Well, so so you're right. Jon and I were there for Thursday and Friday. Thursday is the first day of the media days, and that's when you have, mostly your standard media outlets, your car, your print magazines, as well as the online, the YouTubes, and all of that. And that's really when like the Chicago Auto Show. Has the unveilings and all the the nice stuff and the good food and and everything, and then Friday is what they call their social media day, and that's when they say you're not real journalists, do your stuff and get out.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a little bitter on the whole social media day.
You hide it well.
So it's not they've come down a good ways from what they used to be with that then. They used to treat us like real journalists.
Back in the day when they first, I was telling Jon this. It's like I was there one of the first years, the second years of the social media days, and they like had these programs and these contests, and one of them was a contest for the most active social media person, and it was that if you put out tweets and stuff and hashtag whatever year 2015 CAS.
Yeah.
And so whoever won it, really all it was is they just wanted you to stand there and just send out tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet with hashtag 2015 CAS. And that's how they won.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, is that really journalism? That's not really journalism. And they really haven't improved much from that. But anyway, so Jon and I were there Thursday, Friday. And if you haven't yet seen our is the on-screen talent for the Acura MDX Sport Hybrid. He does an excellent review, crammed full of really good information, details, and driving impressions. And then we also spent some time with the Ford Mustang Mach-E. I'm working on that to put that out soon. Now, the best part of that is while we were there with the Mach-E, I think it was Jon, was it you, who saw a guy named Joe. Said, I think Joe is kind of in charge here. So I walked over and I said, hey, Jon, is there any chance we could maybe just get inside the car, open the door or whatever? And he said, well, I think you need to talk to these two ladies over here. Okay, so I walked over and I talked to a couple ladies and I said, any chance we could get inside the car? They said, well, probably not, but we do have our, it's like electronics or electrification specialist, something like that.
Yeah.
And that turned into, we met a wonderful lady named Lisa Teed, extremely knowledgeable, speaks very easily, easy to understand, great enthusiasm for the product. And John, I think it was a 10-minute interview with her.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was quite. Yeah, I mean, we just kind of did a Q&A type session, and we just asked a couple of questions, and she just went along with it and just described the whole product. It was very well done.
Yeah, so we started with the standard, oh, this is the Mach-E, and this is what it is, and here's here's the size, and is this. And then I think the whole thing just kind of goes off the rails, and in the video is just gonna like cut and say, hey, we're fortunate enough to be here with Lisa. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, I mean, like I said, great information, and she was an easy interview. Some people, as you guys know, you just have to like fight to get information out of them, or you just have to keep asking them all these open-ended questions, and she just went. I mean, a really good professional.
I have to ask, did she say anything about the number of sales, or did you question her about the number of sales or pre-sales of cars?
I don't remember.
I don't recall off the top of my head.
No.
I don't think we did. No.
No, certainly not numbers or anything were discussed. No.
Okay.
And then we the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, which was a full refresh, and the Jaguar I-Pace, the RAV4 Prime, and I think that's it. I think those are the.
I think those are for videos.
Yeah. So I'm working to get those out. I'm aiming for one a week. So the next one will be the Ford Mustang. If you haven't yet seen the MDX Sport Hybrid, you should go watch it.
Can't wait. I love that car, actually.
Yeah, I did mention it in the video. Acura's system is underappreciated, I think.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm not a super big fan of the ginormous SUV class, but when I drove that car in Florida, 3 or 4 years ago, I really fell in love with it. It's brilliantly engineered. It's as efficient as something that size can be, and it's just wonderful to drive.
Mm-hmm. So if only they can stuff in the latest Accord system, pair it up with their 3-motor system, throw it into whatever, the RDX or something.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't even notice in that car until John pointed it out. But yeah, it had 2 screens, the navigation on top and the regular infotainment on the bottom. The bottom infotainment center looked basically like if you bought, and I exaggerate, but it's like looking at a 4K TV, and then the navigation is like pre-Gen 2 Prius.
Oh no!
It's like so night and day. And,
no,
it's like drawn with a dull crayon. Yeah.
Oh,
it's really bad. It's Minecraft to the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
It really is. Yes.
And I've been harping on Acura since 2005. I remember when the CSX was launched, which I don't think was ever available in the US, but it was in Canada. It's basically a Civic with, Acura features. And I remember looking at it in 2005 and going, this is terrible.
And almost every car on the floor, you guys know, wired to power up. And I mean, the navigation systems in these cars these days, I mean, holy shit. You like a 3D view and, an overlay of the map and the terrain. And I mean, truly amazing navigation systems.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hop in this car, and I said, it just feels 10, 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. But that was it. I mean, John, right? That was like pretty much the only real.
That was the only downside.
Yeah, the only downside of that car.
Well, we won't say any more because you need to watch that review.
There you go.
I have to ask John, were you made to stand in front of the Chicago Blackhawks booth?
Oh, that's
Sorry,
cold.
Tony, what was the answer again? What was I supposed to tell Mark?
I did not have to punish John. He was.
Tony did mention that when we walked by the that
That's
same
where
area.
Tony and I saw that the new ladders were in.
And they were setting up again.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
were still setting up, were they? So Thursday
Yeah.
was partial setup day.
yeah.
Even Friday, I don't think it was. We walked by it on Friday too, right? I don't think it was there either.
Right. Yeah. We did see the. What was the deal with the 34 Corvettes?
Oh yeah. No, was it 34? 17? I don't know.
39? No, it was 30 something.
They apparently there was this thing where there was this auction to auction off a collection of antique or rare Corvettes, and something happened, and that auction never went through. This was back in the 90s, I think, early 90s. And then these two people, set out on a mission to find these cars, because the auction never went. So, what happened to these cars? These cars had to be stored somewhere, and I guess they finally found them. And the whole display there was that now they're auctioning. No, they're not auctioning off. They're actually giving it away.
Yeah, he was talking. There was a winner. Yeah, and I just found it on Peter Max Corvette collection to be sold again. And 36 Corvettes sitting in a dusty parking garage. So these cars had been fully cleaned up, and not all of them, but many of them were there, and they're very nice. I'm gonna share this picture here because I think everyone needs to see this. It's like a sad sight. Here, these are the Corvettes in the parking garage as they were discovered.
Man, the 65 Corvette looked a lot like a Beetle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that was their experimental phase.
Oh yeah.
This is the kind of thing that like old car people have dreams about.
Right?
It's like finding a garage like this full of dirty but amazing vehicles.
Yeah.
There was a story a while ago that someone in Europe found a garage full of BMWs, mostly 5 Series from the early 90s, early to mid 90s. And a number of them were 5-speed manuals. And apparently they belonged to an ex-rental car company that folded, and then they just stored the cars. So if you ever wanted a manual 5 Series, that was your chance, I guess.
Yeah.
No. Oh, so any other thoughts on the auto show?
Yeah, I was just thinking, getting back.
The
shout out
Porsche
to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say shout out to Joe and Andrew, who joined us and served as cameramen and Sherpas and key grips and gaffer boys. It was good to have some extra hands. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. I think Joe had some behind-the-scene photos as well. Yeah. In terms of the vehicles, the new Escape hybrid and plug-in hybrid were there. I couldn't find the Explorer hybrid. The Taycan was there, unlocked for media. That was quite nice. A couple of things that were perhaps not up to $150,000 vehicle snuff.
Like what are you suggesting, John? What did you feel was below that?
When I got into the rear passenger compartment, the area between the seats and the door, so that plastic area that where the rear wheel well intrudes into the cabin, it was hard plastic. It was exposed hard plastic.
Wow.
Which does not befit a vehicle, that over $100,000, maybe in a $10,000 or $20,000 vehicle, but you would expect on a Porsche Taycan that it would be at least covered in leather or padded or some way or another.
Sure, the skin of exotic animals or endangered species. Or
something like that, sure.
Yeah,
but I mean,
dressed up vinyl.
Yeah, like something. Yeah, but so I thought that was a bit of an oversight for on Porsche's part. It might be minor, but the only reason why I noticed is because I hit my elbow on that on the way in. So
So you knew exactly it was a hard surface.
Yes.
Mhm.
So yeah. So if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have looked in that area. But yeah.
And I have to admit that many of the shows in the past I had walked right by, but this year John had me sit in the driver's seat of a Genesis, and I pretty much fell in love.
Which Genesis?
The G90.
Oh, I like that car. In fact, I was just talking about that car yesterday with somebody. Last night at dinner.
It was amazing. What was it? Things like, so each back seat's reclined with memory seats in the back.
Mm-hmm. Yep, all 4 seats.
Yeah, all 4 seats with memory storage, displays. You could control the infotainment center from the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me,
which would really piss off the driver, I'm sure.
Right. See, that's an affront to any driver, because the driver has ultimate radio controls. That better be disableable.
Well, I mean, unless you're expecting that vehicle to be chauffeured, then the rear passenger has final say. I will. Yep. Go ahead.
No. I'm sorry, John. As I said in my review, from 2 years ago, right? 3 years ago, it's the ultimate real estate agent's car. It's a car you're going to be stuck in the back seat while somebody's driving you around. But hey, I'm comfy. I got a screen. I can control the HVAC. Life is good.
Yes. Yeah. You can also enter your navigation system address from there.
Oh, cool.
Oh. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And you could do ambient sounds.
Yes, that's right.
It's really weird. You could do like radio sounds, and one of them was like Italian coffee shop.
Yeah, open air cafe. Oh, that was on the GV80 as well, on the SUV, the brand new SUV.
So we're not talking like go to sleep sounds like the ocean or crickets. We're talking.
Well,
there is the falling rain. Open air cafe, rainforest.
Because nothing says driving I-80 across Nebraska quite like having the fall asleep white noise.
How about Midtown Manhattan during a pileup?
I'm walking here.
Just thought that was an interesting touch that they do have those. But I don't know. I don't know what else. We did not get the chance, which I'm kind of bummed about, because we're actually making so many videos and walking around. We didn't get the chance to do any of the ride-alongs that we normally do. They had the usual. I mean, Jeep, I think, has the same ride-along every year. I don't know.
Off-road, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who else was
Ram had one. Ram had one, and Toyota had one. So the new Highlander was there, as well as the RAV4 XSE hybrid and the Camry.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess the Jeep one would be if you wanted to try the Gladiator. I guess it would have been a good one to try out. I believe Chicago Auto Show is still running until Tuesday, I believe. So February 18th.
It's a couple weeks.
I have to say that the Jeep course was impressive for an indoor course, though. Like when we were there last year, I'm sure it's the same setup, but the imitation mountains and boulders and the course looks quite impressive.
It is amazing what they can do, what they can set up. I mean, to think that they can do, it's like a 20-foot incline. They put in, you go up and you got the logs and stuff, and the car goes like 45 degrees sideways, and it's crazy how they set all that up, and it's safe enough to put the car on. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess, do you want to segue into the RAV4 Prime and the future of Prius Prime?
Oh, yeah.
So unfortunately, there was no additional information revealed at the Chicago Auto Show with regards to the RAV4 Prime. Whatever information we had up there, it's basically the same as what we found from LA. The one tidbit, if you haven't read about it yet, that was partially revealed on the Canadian press release site, Toyota, that was subsequently removed from the Canadian press release site. They meant to release that information. But unfortunately for them, I found it before they removed it, and that was the battery size of the RAV4 Prime. So I believe we were looking at somewhere between 17.4 to 17.8 kilowatt hour battery. It wasn't quite double a Prius Prime battery, but yeah, before they removed it, it was about a 17.4 or 17.8 kilowatt hour battery that will be going into a RAV4 Prime, and we don't think it's, well, a couple things. One, it's probably not a coincidence that it's roughly twice a Prime battery, because they probably want to, and they know the RAV4 Prime is going to sell pretty well, so they want to spread the cost out over a greater number of vehicles and recover that R&D. So there's probably no surprise there. That's probably based on a Prius Prime. That's my educated guess. The other thing is that and I should have looked it up before the show started, is the range. Right now, I don't believe there was an estimated range, or there's no official range.
Not official. Yeah.
But unofficially, I think they were targeting 39 miles of range, all electric range in the EPA. And I believe that wasn't a coincidence either. I read somewhere, and if any of you happen to have read that same article, you can maybe let me know, that I believe California, for their new HOV lane, their ever changing and updating HOV requirements, require a plug-in hybrid to have greater than 35 miles for the latest or upcoming regulations for the new stickers. So the 35 miles, RAV4 is 39, probably not a coincidence, right? They probably had some insight saying, hey, we're going to bump up the regulations, just FYI for your future product planning. Toyota said, okay, thanks, and then we'll do that. So that begs the question. So for 2021 and 2022, which will be potentially the last 2 years of the Prius Prime, is there the potential that Toyota will up the battery size? Now, they don't need to double it, because doubling it probably will put them to 50 miles, because the Prius Prime is lighter than the RAV4 Prime. But even if they increase it by 50%, that should bump it over 35, right? That'll put it to about 37 miles. They can probably do that. Again, if it's true that the rumors are true that the RAV4 Prime will be liquid, then all that space underneath that they have in the Prius Prime, they can stuff another 50% of the battery size in there and run liquid cooled, a liquid cooled system instead of the current air cooled system. So they do have the space in there, and they don't have to re-engineer anything in the Prime, as far as I know. So that's a speculation. So if not the 2021 model, probably for the next generation Prime, they will target 35 miles. So that's my little educated guess, based on my, I don't know, lengthy year or many years of kind of just tracking Toyota, just the way that they do business and the way that they do technology.
But really good insights and speculation that they have certain parts. They've spent a lot of time and money, like you said, developing batteries of a very particular size, and you would think that they would, as they electrify their fleet, they would choose the easiest entry point.
Mm-hmm.
And the hope, as I said, the hope is that if they do say 35, 37, 39 miles for the RAV4 Prime, much like the Prius Prime, that they say 25, and I mean, I get 25 on the coldest days, but during the summer, I'll see 35, closer to 40. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that RAV4 Prime, if they say 40 miles, we'll get 50 or more.
And I don't doubt that they will. I guess at some point, I can't remember if we've discussed it or not, but just how to label, plugins and EVs, BEVs. In the future, because right now we're just giving one number for range, right? That's an average between city, highway, summer, or winter, that sort of thing, right? And that's the reason why, we can see better numbers in the summer, because obviously they want to advertise a slightly lower, more pessimistic number to account for winter and highway driving, such that it's nicer to have the customer beat the number, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because we give two numbers for regular fuel, regular gas cars, city and highway. Perhaps at some point, once people get familiar with electrics and plugins, that they'll start to give a range of numbers, just for reference.
It's going to be tougher though, because of course different weather patterns in different regions of North America, right? Somebody that looks at maybe a summer winter number in Nunavut is going to be a lot different than someone gets a San Diego summer winter number.
Yeah,
fair.
What do you got against San Diego?
San Diego gets one number. San Diego, Florida, one
pretty
number.
much.
The other problem is by the time they get that system dialed in, everybody will have transitioned off of oil.
Right, but I mean, you can still give two numbers, like a city and a highway number for electric efficiency, right?
That's what the Volt did. The Volt had a
city and a highway.
Yeah.
Like kilowatt hours per 100.
Yeah, the
miles,
MPGE.
Whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm just saying that, perhaps we can, once people get familiar with it, we can start giving a range. But I mean, that's fine. Whatever works.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
That's it? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing.
I have a lot more for your all-wheel drive, but I think I'll wait till next week.
There you go. I appreciate your judgment, sir, and your discretion. Well, let's do another news story, maybe.
All right.
Tony wants to talk about I-Pace manufacturing.
Yeah. So this got my attention primarily because. John and I were at the auto show and we did a video for the I-Pace, and then the very next day or so, I'm surfing around and The Verge has an article about the I-Pace, and I'm like, hey, I know that car. But unfortunately for Jaguar Land Rover, they're going to stop making the I-Pace.
Oh.
For about a week.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you. Pregnant pause. It turns out that LG Chem, not for the first time, is reporting a problem manufacturing enough batteries to meet capacity. And so LG Chem had issues with Hyundai and the Ioniq EV. They couldn't keep up with battery support, and they caused Audi to delay deliveries of the e-tron. And so this is just another example. And I don't know, are people going to start moving away from LG Chem if they can't meet the needs? Is LG Chem going to have to build more factories or do more capital improvements? Because the battery's the new currency, if you will. And if one battery manufacturer can't keep up, they're going to start looking somewhere else.
Didn't they also slow down the Bolt's initial rollout because of not enough batteries?
What?
The Bolt EV?
Was it?
Bolt?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Not sure, but I think
that's
I think
LG Chem?
Bolt does use LG Chem, but I can't remember if it did or not.
I seem to vaguely recall them having a.
GM and LG just signed an agreement for a factory in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is when it launched. I think that if I'm remembering correctly, same situation. They had to halt production of the Bolt for a little while because there were no batteries.
Right.
See, and the thing is, maybe that was capacity, but at the same time, that was so long ago and there were so few Bolts.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe that it was a numbers issue. These days, you have more manufacturers asking for more product.
Yeah.
But so I honestly think we might be hearing more and more of this as we've said in the past, as more manufacturers start developing electrified vehicles, then we have to start chasing it upstream to the parts and who's supplying the batteries and the motors and the other stuff. And again, Tesla's taking all that internally. So they're controlling their own supply lines, and that seems to be working really well for them. Maybe other manufacturers will follow suit.
Well, I know they're diverging. They're signing up with multiple battery suppliers, right? There's still Samsung out there. There's just a Swedish battery company. The name escapes me at this time. There's CATL, CATL from China.
Right. In China.
For example, like Toyota's signed up for, I think they pretty much signed up with everyone. Say, hey, get out the battery. Panasonic. And I think Jaguar's, I thought I read somewhere in that article that Jaguar was also trying to sign with a different company just to spread out their battery production.
Or repeat their mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Not to rely on one supplier.
A new challenger appears.
Exactly.
Right.
So, maybe we'll. So here, I guess I mentioned Volkswagen. This one, some $50 billion, and has inked deals with 3 different battery suppliers. So it looks like.
Oh, right.
But the thing is that, so if everyone is signing up with everyone, doesn't that kind of? It just goes back to the same problem.
But that's where you start your own factory.
Yeah,
to make up the difference.
Yeah.
Right.
But a lot of them.
Well, I'm sorry. What's the problem with everyone signing up with everyone?
What's the downside of that?
They're selling capacity they don't even have.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, possibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have a finite amount of capacity, so it's fine if 1 or 2 manufacturers sign up and you use that as a buffer. But if everyone is signing up with you,
keep up.
Yeah. So there was one more thing that I wanted to ask you guys about this, and where was? Oh, geez, now I can't find it. It was so in the Verge article, paragraph here, the production halt will start Monday, February 17th in Graz, Austria, where contract manufacturer Magnus Steyr makes the I-Pace for Jaguar Land Rover.
Yes.
I made the Ford Focus Electric, the first one.
See, I had no idea that such a thing existed as a contract manufacturer.
Yeah.
Magnus
been all over.
Magnus developed cars for, I don't want to say everybody, but everybody.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I was today years old when I learned this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, that's a strength, right? Jaguar could roll out a custom-produced new EV, yet not have to invest the money in the factory. Now, obviously, not being vertically integrated, they pay more for that, but they also don't have the cash outlay and the risk in owning the factory.
Right.
Okay, makes sense.
So, Magna does a very good job. By no means is this a budget operation. Let's just put it that way.
They were also rumored to be part of that build that Sony displayed recently of that.
Okay.
Yeah, they were.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, I mean, they certainly have experience now building these cars, and they're very good at building big complex machines. So I think it's a smart, again, sort of like that diversification of battery suppliers. I think it's smart to use these alternative manufacturing means, if nothing else, just to jumpstart a model.
Right.
I don't know. Until I got details on what the differences were cost-wise between manufacturing it yourself and farming it out, I would have a positive opinion of it.
Yeah.
Or if it was going to be a compliance car, then it doesn't really matter the cost.
Well, there's that. Although the last thing you want to do in a car that you don't want to make is have it cost even more. Right?
Versus tooling up one of your own factories, training people, getting the lines going. Versus you could just contract it, give me 8 widgets, and I'm done.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
Well, let's go on here. We've got one last thing. Excuse me, 2 more. Pardon me. John shared a video, which I don't know that we have enough time to go into all of the details, but it certainly is worth mentioning. So, John, why don't you talk about what it is in this video link that will be in the show notes so that you can check it out yourself.
Okay, sure. So this video is from Engineering Explained. It's another YouTube channel that I like to go to just to, again, I don't claim to know everything. So a lot of the technical stuff I will, watch his video to kind of get an understanding of how things work, variable induction turbos or whatever the case may be. So he posted a video from February 5th about why. Well, the title is "Why Gas Engines Are Far from Dead and Biggest EV Problems." Aside from the clickbait title, which will definitely generate views, he does bring up some some things where so the target emissions that, and again, this is completely broad. It's a broad brush thing. Where
it's a right
somewhere between 2040 and 2050 is when entities, let's say, whether it's government, manufacturers, whatever it may be, entities and organizations have decided that that's the year 2040 to somewhere between 2040 and 2050. That's the year that we're going to make that big change. Or we'll slowly transition, but that will be the deadline that they've set. Whether it's banning cars from city centers, banning sales of ICE vehicles, the climate change deadlines proposals, to meet certain CO2 emissions or CO2 cuts or greenhouse gas emissions, whatever it may be. Those 2040 to 2050 is the target range, right? So the whole premise of this video is that, okay, so between now and 2040 and now to 2050, as we make that transition, there's still going to be a whole bunch, and let's assume that the transition will be towards electric vehicles. Between that, through that transition, we'll still be manufacturing ICE cars, and would it not be in our best interests to, while we're developing electric vehicles, continue to ensure that these cars are cleaner and more fuel efficient, so we're not stuck in 2010 or 2020 technology, 10 years from now, 2030, let's pick the middle year between here and 2040, 2030, where at least we have cleaner cars, more efficient cars. Yes, it's not full electric. Yes, it's not zero emissions, but at least we continue to improve them such that as a collective whole, we can appeal to the entire market and all budget ranges. Someone who may not be able to afford electric cars or wants a new car and not a used electric car can continue to benefit from a cleaner powertrain. And of course, he kind of goes into the different aspects such as costs, environmental benefits, packaging, and consumers, what consumer wants. And so I thought this video kind of touched on those four aspects, and kind of I thought it was more of a neutral view. He wasn't bashing electric cars, he wasn't bashing ICE, but he just kind of say, hey, look, this is the science, right? This is where we are, and we know where we want to be. But for someone say like Toyota, who definitely has gotten a lot of flack for not getting electric vehicles out, and he has an explanation using Mazda. Can we as a collective whole still continue to reduce emissions, even if the mass hasn't moved to EVs yet? So,
yeah, and he pointed out, like you said, they pointed out his old Nissan Leaf and his Model 3 a couple times as well.
Yeah. So he has had electric car, and he owns a performance, a Model 3 Performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he loves it. Yeah.
I found it interesting when he was comparing the packaging of the actual liquids, like saying, here's a gallon of water. How many? What's the packaging look like for a battery? And he took like soda cans to say that these were in effect representing batteries, and he stacked like 194 or something crazy on the table to say the energy efficiency of a gallon of gasoline is equal to this. And that was kind of interesting just to see the visually, packaging it would take up.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's nice that he's able to break it down and kind of explain it more in layman terms, saying, okay, well, this is where we are now, but obviously this is where we want to be. And he started removing all these cans, right? Saying, we want to get it down to a particular size. We don't necessarily have to match gasoline because, again, we have other weight savings, right? You remove the engine, you remove the transmission, alternator, all the other stuff. We'll still have weight savings over a gasoline vehicle or an engined vehicle eventually. That's the goal. That's the end game. So I don't know. I thought it was an interesting video.
I thought it was a fascinating video in light of so this event that I just came back with. Some 50 auto journalists, people 50 in the media, and my informal poll question to as many of them as I could ask is, when are ICE cars going to go away? And I thought the responses were, for the most part, very measured and very careful. Nobody was like, going to jump in with both feet and go right now or in 10 years or in, what I mean? Most of it was, much like this video, very considered, very based on the objective numbers of what's going on here. It's not to say that anybody doesn't want that to happen, but I think the realistic thing of it is, didn't the UK just pass a law 2025 banning ICE? Banning ICE sales?
It also depends on how you define goes away, because UK is only banning the new cars. So you're talking about when do people stop buying ICE or stop using ICE, or when do they stop buying new ones because they're not available?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and is it better to sell someone or to have someone keep a 10-year-old ICE car, or would it be better to have them go out and buy a brand new ICE car?
Yeah,
as with
that's the age
any
old question,
regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so.
But even then, I think we're going to reach, possibly reach some point, maybe in England first, that these gas stations might see their demand dropping to the point that it's just not worth supplying the gas any longer. They're just not making enough product. Because one of the things I remember, one of the more things eye-opening for me was, if you go to a gas station, you just buy gas and leave. They're working on razor-thin margins. They want you to come in and buy that overpriced product to supplement the gas that you're buying. So if it gets to the point that their razor-thin margins on petrol is just not keeping, not worth the, worth having that truck show up once a week, then maybe they'll just stop pumping it, and then people will have a hard time finding fuel, and then that's when we see ICE cars going away.
Yeah, look at RS Automotive in Tacoma, Maryland. They don't sell gas anymore. People still come by and they stop and try to fill up, but it's a DC fast charger, so it doesn't work.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the station that converted all their pumps to DC fast charger, right? Was it?
Yes, that's them.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Anecdotally, from my perspective, in the last 6 or so years, the number of gas stations that have closed in my area is quite significant. I will say Chevron is selling up a lot of their gas station.
Plus, you got to maintain the tanks. Huh? You got to maintain the tanks to make sure they're environmentally sound as well.
Yeah, so that's the thing too. Once you sell a lot, that piece of land has to stay empty for whatever 5-8 years, whatever the regulation is, to just aerate the soil, right, to make sure there's nothing left. But I mean, the high real estate prices obviously is tempting for them too. But
but like with the tank, if the tank is only good for 20 years, you're at year 15, year 20.
Yeah.
That's,
I see. Okay,
see, that's right. That gets back to exactly that same thought is, if they are seeing the demise, if they think, well, I'm going to have to spend $25,000 to dig up the old tanks and put in new ones and then do maintenance and do this, they go, well, you know what? Nope, it's
sell it.
Yeah.
Get the profits. Yeah.
Get out now.
There is only one station left downtown. There used to be 3 or 4.
Oh my goodness.
Now there's only one left. Chevron had a giant piece in prime real estate. I mean, it is the main street that comes down from Whistler. So basically, every traveler that's gone up skiing, and not just Whistler, I mean any of the local mountains, right? Any traveler that's gone skiing will come by this road, and inevitably they'll refuel in that station because it's right off the main street. Right, it's right on the main street. There's like 12 pumps. It's quite large, and especially if you're a tourist and you're renting a vehicle, it's convenient. You don't have to go look for a gas station, and so it's quite a lucrative spot. But of course, that piece of land can fit 2 residential towers.
Yeah.
And I think they sold it for some ridiculous amount. I can't remember what it is now. Easily hundreds of millions of dollars. because you're in prime downtown real estate. So, but yeah, like I said, just seeing all these stations close, it's quite at least in my area, it's starting, right? You're starting to see it, see the shift.
Oh. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say there's a lot of level 2 stations here, and most of them are free to charge. Some of them are still paid parking, so you're paying for parking, but the electricity is free. The DCFCs out here, I think a good 80-90% are free. Right now they're on trial runs, but they're free.
Yeah,
free to use. So, and there's a decent number of them. So I'd say, yeah, at least for our city, that should be a model, I guess, on how to convert people and how to shift the thinking. It's the idea that I have, or the things that I hear from other people, and I'm sure you hear too from your friends and colleagues, is they still have that mindset of I need to go somewhere and wait to charge, right? It's like, no, you don't. You have to change your way of thinking. It's doing it while you're doing something else.
Mm-hmm. Sleeping.
Yeah,
sleeping, working, shopping, watching a movie.
Yeah. I had that exact conversation with the guy at work today. We were talking about cross-country charging networks, and I told him, I said, well, first of all, I've never driven cross-country. I've never driven from coast to coast, so that's never been an issue for me. I said, but I know people who have, and I mentioned Mark driving all the way down to Florida and back, and I compared it to myself, and I said, my wife and I each, our hometowns are about 400 miles away. So that's about an 8-hour drive, 7.5, 8-hour drive. Halfway there, we stop and we stretch our legs, we get something to eat, we shop for an hour and a half. That would be a perfect time to top off the car and then take off again. It's not like you have to sit in the car for an hour and a half. You're doing other stuff.
Yeah. And I think the number of people that would do, 8 straight hours with like a 15-minute break, that's a small minority.
Yeah.
Very small minority.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and honestly, it's not even a good idea. You know what I mean? Even if you can do it, it's just not a good idea to be in that car that long. And I love long drives, but you know what? Yeah, this whole sort of canard that we have to constantly act like, oh, charging is stop. Okay, I know it only takes you a couple of minutes to pump your truck or whatever it is for gas, but the idea that a half an hour or 45 minutes is an onerous, impossible to deal with thing is ridiculous.
Yeah,
sorry.
And it's getting shorter by the minute. You got Tesla, you got Porsche, you got all these people making it shorter.
Yeah.
And I think Electrify America or Electrify Canada, they're installing 150, and I believe it's upgradable to 350 when.
Yeah.
And then there's that one manufacturer they sell them to everybody where they just put in modules, and it gets faster as you add more modules as well.
Oh, okay. Do they need to change the cabling, or is the cable like set for 350?
I think it just sells with the max cabling. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So. Yeah, so 150 is coming. Yeah, the standard is 50 kilowatts, except for Tesla. That's what, 230?
250.
250. Yeah. So V3s are 250s, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's the truck. The truck is a megawatt.
Oh Jesus. Woo. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So I think it's just a mindset. Yeah. So I think I think cities will have to play a part in that too, right? Just installing these stations where people, do things for more than an hour, whether it be shopping, movies, whatever it is, and just get people to get into that idea of, okay, I'm going to park, I'm going to plug in and go do my thing, whatever maybe. Just get them into So anyway, that's that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, John. And Mark.
No, we'll skip mine, but I will give a shout out at the end of the show here, is that I will be visiting the Toronto car show tomorrow. So it kicks off Media Day tomorrow, so I will be there to check out what's going on in the Canadian market, and we'll report back next week.
Excellent.
I will very much. We'll start the show with that, and we'll look forward to, as we always do, to your reporting from the Toronto Auto Show.
I should have driven over. I'm so sorry.
See, are we allowed to visit Canada right now? I mean, I don't even know. Like,
Are we allowed out?
yeah.
I think that's the bigger
You
question.
can get in, you just can't get back.
You just can't get back in. Yeah.
Hotel, eh?
You're obviously a communist. You need to stay there, sir. Oh,
Oh
how
no,
friendly.
maple syrup and poutine.
No.
All that said, you could be stuck in many worse places than Canada.
For sure.
Just saying, like if I gotta get stuck somewhere in Canada, I'm fine with that. Okay, I'll deal. I'll buy a coat. Well, I got that later. Anybody else? No. I respect your whatever it is, your control. Let's do some shout outs and go home then. Let's start with Mr. Jon B.
Well, I mean, Tony's mentioned that early, but I'd like to give a shout out, to Andrew and Joe just for helping us out at the Chicago Auto Show. Really appreciate the extra set of hands for setting up and videoing and that sort of thing. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Mr. Casey Green.
So youtube.com/KACEYGREEN. Just put up a video on Tesla V3 supercharging. And the car didn't get fully prepped on its way there because it didn't know the station existed. Like literally we showed up as soon as Tesla flipped the switch on the website saying it was good to go. But
Nice.
the peak was impressive.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Mr. Coughlin.
I would like to ask you, if you're just watching this show now and you haven't already, please press that subscribe button, give us a number, and for goodness sakes, give us a thumbs up. Like, come on, it's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and it gets us in front of more eyeballs. So please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. We would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well said, Mr. Coughlin.
Yeah.
And just in the name of fairness, if you're into Tesla stuff, and we know nobody who watches this show cares about Tesla.
Really?
I mean, winking. I'm kidding. Mark, of course, hosts the Tesla Life, and you can follow him at the Tesla Life on Twitter, and you can subscribe to his YouTube channel as well and get updates there. So watch us both, support us both. It costs you nothing and gives you more sources for good information.
Oh, right. That's
Tony
that
Shade?
startup. That startup company, isn't it? Are they finally making cars?
They finally made their first batch of cars, Tony.
Oh, I hadn't heard. Yeah.
In China.
Yeah.
You know what always surprises me? Yeah, they make them in China now. What always surprises me with that is that there's so many companies that are older than them that still have yet to make any electric cars yet.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking like the GM, Ford, all them. I'm talking like they're electric car companies. They don't make cars yet.
Yeah. So all I want to say is Tesla opens a factory in China and we get the coronavirus. Now, I'm not drawing a connection. I'm just putting it out there.
Oh, my goodness, Tony.
And if you want to actually read real news, you should subscribe to our Facebook page at facebook.com/whatdrivesus. I think Patrick is the one that maintains the buffer. He puts out some good articles. As I mentioned before, Philip Barclay and I curate magazines on Flipboard. Subscribe to the Flipboard magazine, and you'll read the articles that we read. And let's see. Stitcher. Is it? I remember iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, and Google Play. For audio. Yeah. That's all I got.
That's all you got? Are you sure?
Patreon.
Yeah, you're sure. Okay.
I was waiting for Russell.
As always. No, I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
I'm listening to my microphone as though I can hear you better if I put my ear in. Oh my God. I mean, I was just in the mountains for a few days. It's all of a sudden like my brain's not functioning. Anyway, as always, I want to thank Michael Mandring for our amazing theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Buy his music everywhere you find it, except for CD Baby, because they suck. But do support Mr. Mandring as he supported this show since day one. Also, reminder, do subscribe at youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Do hit the bell to get notifications. You will get all of the new videos from Jon and Tony and from me. Tons of new stuff. At least you'll know about them. Even if you don't go look at them, you'll get a little thing that says, hey, there's this video, and you'll get a little thumbnail. And won't that be fun? Won't that enhance your lonely life?
Yes.
Okay.
Looking at me.
Am I selling this too hard? Maybe I.
Maybe.
You can follow us on social media everywhere. We are What Drives Us. We're at facebook.com/whatdrivesus. We are at What Drives Us on Twitter. And if you follow us on Twitter over the weekend, I was posting stuff from Park City at the Toyota event, live as it happens. And once again, I will have a whole bunch of stuff very soon in the next week coming up. A whole bunch of exciting, cool new videos. You can support the show through Patreon. It's patreon.com/whatdrivesusshow for as little as $1 a month. That's less than 25 cents per show, you cheap bastards. $1 a month. Don't we deserve it? $1 a month?
One of us does. We're not going to say who.
Yeah. Okay. Even if you hate me, give the $1 to Tony or John or Casey or Mark. Think about them. Think about their families. Not about me. Yeah. Casey has future children to support that he doesn't even know about yet.
Oh.
Surprise!
Surprise, Casey. Oh, did I blow the secret? Oh, damn.
Oops. Dude, you were embargoed.
I know, right? At that one more time, that's youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Go there and subscribe, of course, so that you get those notifications. I want to thank Tony Schaefer, Jon B, Mr. Casey Green, and of course, Mr. Mark Coughlin for a wonderful show this week. Thank you so much. And of course, as always, I want to thank all of you for watching. You guys are the reason that we do the show. So thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in next week and find out what drives us. Was that dramatic enough?
That was pretty good.
See you next week, everybody. Have a great time. Thank you, and drive safe, okay?